disrupted.
America that I thought weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. The Nancy Pelosi appeared on CNN. Yes, Nancy Pelosi is back, ladies and gentlemen. She's no longer Speaker of the House, but apparently she's still in Congress. She's still part of the mainstream structure and still trying to make media attention because, you know, the darling Nancy Pelosi, she's the mama bear of the Democratic Party, still needs to be completely brainless and out of touch when it comes to covering certain affairs. And she has a bit of insight when it comes to the Israel-Palestine situation because, as you know, we are seeing a rise in pro-Palestinian support, or at least support in ending this war, support in a ceasefire. I don't think it's really much support of one nation versus the other. I think it's just more in the fact that we need to drop this. We need both sides to, you know, condemn this, and we need to get on with actually investing in our own nations rather than putting our money into bloodshed and tyranny across all around the world. We have seen the disaster what happened in Ukraine. We have seen the disaster what happened in Afghanistan. We're seeing the disasters unfolding all over the place. Like, we send so much money around the world to kill one another when literally we could take a portion of it and invest that into better roadways here that would actually make it beneficial for the majority of people here in America, or the majority of here in Canada. You know, it's just that kind of simple logic, which is why I'm for a ceasefire. It's not really to do with the fact of supporting a nation. It has more in the fact that we're wasting money by doing this. We're wasting our resources. We are slaughtering and killing ourselves by allocating huge amount of slush funds to another nation to allow them to commit war crimes. Like that, it's just so ridiculous. But here's Nancy Pelosi on CNN having some insight to this, and in typical Democratic fashion, she wants to point the finger at one specific person and take some guesses on who you think Nancy Pelosi is going to blame for all the support of a ceasefire. I'll give you a hint. It's something that still to this day we're still discussing almost 5 years later. But take a look.
They're in front of my house all the time. So I have a feeling for what feelings they have. But we have to think about what we're doing. And what we have to do is...
So, first of all, the reason she's saying this is because there's been ceasefire activists and peace activists that have been around her house in San Francisco. And she's devastated. Oh my God, there's people just swarming my place, and it's not a, gay character attacking my husband. Now it's just a bunch of people holding up poster paper, and that's even more terrifying because, oh my God, they're actually realizing things. It's more devastating when they're holding a poster and saying that we need to stop the war, because that hurts me financially. And that's my dear soul. My dear soul is sold onto Wall Street. If I lose the Wall Street connection, I'm just empty. I no longer have an identity as Nancy Pelosi. Give me some ice cream. I need some soul food.
Try to stop the suffering in Gaza. This is women and children, people who don't have a place to go. So let's address that. But for them to call for...
By the way, there's women and children and men and sons and daughters and all sorts of people that don't have homes in California. There's people that don't have homes here in North America. So the idea that you're trying to send all that money that could have been investing in the homeless people here and saying that you're helping the homeless people in Gaza when you're not actually doing it, you're sending it off to Israel to create more genocide, it shows what an absolute prick you are. It shows that you have no decency on human life whatsoever. If you can't even recognize homeless outbreaks in your own neighborhood, but yet you're going on television to say, I care so much about, the men and children and the women and all the individuals in Gaza that don't have homes anymore, and then you send it off to the people that caused them to lose their homes. But here's where this gets interesting, folks. And Again, take the time to guess who she's going to put the finger on.
For a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message. Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake.
Oh! She did it again. Oops, she did it again. We're gonna Russiagate this. I can't believe we're still doing this, but they have nothing. I knew it. I knew it. I had some doubts. I maybe thought it was going to be Trump, but no. Vladimir Putin is behind the ceasefire movement in America, folks. Yes, that is how crafty but also weak Russia is. Because they keep telling you that Russia's losing and they're weak and they don't have much of a military force and we're going to overpower them. But yet they're so powerful enough to take college students and regular Joes and Janes in America to initialize peace. That sick, twisted bastard. How dare he interfere with our war crimes? God. He is just such a party pooper, that Vladimir Putin. He is such a party pooper. Can you not just allow us to slaughter people? Can you not just allow us to get away with war crimes? Why? Why? Do you have to acknowledge things? Why do you have to point things out? Oh. Next thing you know, they're gonna blame, Russia for allowing information. We didn't have all these books and knowledgeable people if it wasn't for Russia. Ugh. I gotta hear this again. That was hilarious.
For them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message. Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see. Same thing with Ukraine.
Oh my God. Mr. Putin's message. That's directly tied to his message. His message of what? Stopping wars, investing in America? If that's his message, Godspeed. I'm so glad that Mr. Putin is more cherishable about Americans than American politicians. Apparently Russia cares more about America than America. Wow, if that's his message, that we're going to stop all the insane spending on warfare and maybe put that money towards healthcare, education, good jobs, unions, and roadways, then all means, by golly, let's do it. Let's build a community. Let's actually do something grateful for everybody. Oh my God. This is hilarious. Again, this is how empty the Democratic Party is, because they have nothing. They have nothing. They have nothing to defend in any of these arguments. And all they have left is to shame you if you bring attention to any of this, including illegal warfare, international war crimes. You bring it to their attention, they shame you by saying you're either a Russian, you're a Trumper, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a xenophobic, you're homophobic, you're everything in between. They have nothing. They have no defense for their arguments. But you're just supposed to wave the finger and vote blue no matter who, or red no matter who, because that's what good adults do. You don't recognize problems and then try to fix them. You just go with the flow and just hope everything goes okay. Apparently, politics is like the greatest religion of all time. That and corruption.
About Putin's message. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere. Some, I think, are connected to Russia. And I say that having looked at this for a long time now. As you know,
think some of these protests are Russian plants?
I say they're plants. I think some financing should be investigated. And I'm going to ask the FBI to investigate that.
Oh, my God. So now she's worried because she tried to like give it both sides, like, oh, there might be some organic, grassroots. There might actually be some Americans that are recognizing this. But I'm sure there's at least some of them that are connected financially to Russia, and that's why we got to have the FBI track the protesters down and win them a new one. Nancy Pelosi, who's no longer Speaker of the House for obvious reasons, is demanding the FBI to track down protesters who want peace. First of all, as if they're not already doing that already. Like the FBI, the CIA, I'm sure, like, after January 6th, after, giving half the population of America the domestic terrorist label, I'm sure that's already taken effect. I'm sure that they're already monitoring every single transaction, every single post, every single social media that you are doing right now to make sure that you're supportive of war, you're supportive of the narrative, you're supportive of the globalist agenda, and if you talk about any of this, you're met with a target on your back. They're already doing this now. But here's Nancy Pelosi on CNN demanding that the FBI take action on peaceful protesters, peaceful activists who want to stop war and want to track them down because there might be a hunch in her little messed up mind that they're connected to Russia. It is like the most insanely depressing, like the most illogical soap opera you could witness right now. Like everything is tied to Russia somehow. It's just takes a lot of seasons and episodes to figure all this out. Like, oh my God, there's peace activists and they're connected to Russia. Well, how do you know? Well, in this episode, we're gonna, maybe get the FBI involved in this, and then maybe we'll end that on a cliffhanger, and then by the next episode, we'll have like the connected dots and try to, manufacture the fact that Putin's message somehow had to do with peace, and then that's how they got Brittany from I'm trying to think of the name, the college from California. Stratford? No, Stanford. I couldn't think of the name. From Stanford University to go to Nancy Pelosi's house and care so much about peace. Maybe I'm just enjoying this too much, and that's why I'm losing my words. But not only did she say that on CNN, but here's Nancy Pelosi at the scene of peace activists who are at her house, and Nancy Pelosi, in a typical out-of-touch old lady persona of hers, is going to scream at these protesters and scream not only to get off my lawn, but a little something extra. Take a look.
You know it was an inside job.
Most of your constituents block the sergeant. Stop the genocide. Stop the Holocaust.
Democrats want the ceasefire. The Democrats want the ceasefire. The Democrats want
So they're saying Democrats want to stop the genocide, stop the Holocaust, and her response is, go back to China where your headquarters are. I thought this was Putin's message. So now, okay. Now, plot twist. We gotta now connect this not only to Vladimir Putin, but now to China. Because China's also our enemy. And because somehow they want peace, and also Russia wants peace, and they're trying to coordinate with other nations to have a better economy than we are. They're the most nefarious people, and they're the ones that are psychologically brainwashing these people to stop warfare and actually invest in our nation so we can actually have better nations and better economy, and then we can actually compete against China and Russia and all these other nations that are in the BRICS agreement. Wow. They have nothing. They have nothing, folks. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the entire Democratic establishment, and most of the Republican establishment except for maybe Matt Gaetz and Rand Paul, just barely. They have nothing. They have no argument to defend the actions that they're doing. They have nothing. And they will just scream at their own people, at their own voters that probably voted handsomely for Nancy Pelosi to get into office. Just scream at them, hey, go back to China because you're talking about peace. You're interrupting my business transactions, and that's a no-no. Get back to work, comrade. You goddamn Chinese supporter of peace. Ugh, I can't even think of words. Driver, take me to the ice cream parlor. I need sweets. I need sweets while I see more drone warfare. I need to be in my happy place. Let me meditate. Holy crap. Oh, that is something else. That's something else, ladies and gentlemen. And just to show you how out of touch the United States establishment really is when it comes to all this. And majority of the Canadian establishment too, because we have shown how Justin Trudeau is completely ignorant to the whole situation. He tried hard to call for a ceasefire, but he didn't say. He said ceasing. We need to ceasing of the Palestinian situation, but we need to aid Israel because in a way it's actually supporting Canada and its military and blah 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 business transaction, and we're allies when it comes to NATO, la 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 la. Basically, all the 9 ways of Sunday to take you down. But here's the big thing to note. The biggest thing to note about all this is that the United States is pretty much alone in this. The United States increasingly alone in Israel's support as 153 countries vote for a ceasefire at the UN. 153 countries are voting for a ceasefire at the UN. 153 countries are saying, hey, enough with this crap. We have seen how bad, how devastating, and how stupid it was to send billions of dollars off to Ukraine in that failed mission. Why are we continuing to do this? Why are we continuing to bleed these countries dry in order to do illegal warfare in another nation and hope for the best? Well, I guess maybe they're all anti-Semites. They're all against Jewish people. Every country except for part of America, the little tiny part of America, they're all against them. They're all against us. We're the victims here. And it also says vote highlights a stiffening consensus for a ceasefire in the war, which has killed more than 18,000 Palestinians. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure when you call something a war and the one side is completely getting annihilated because they don't have a fighting chance and they don't have any means to have a fighting chance, that's not really a war. That's not really a war. A war is usually a battle between two opponents, like one person and opponent. That's usually how it works. When you have the opponent that is completely without a leg to stand on and you're just annihilating them, that's not a war. Okay? That's a crippling genocide. That's you slaughtering these people and taking over their nation. That's domination over the Palestine region. That's what people are concerned about. That is what people are recognizing because they followed through on this. They actually did their own research. God forbid we actually look into things. And we actually acknowledge that even the Israeli publications are calling this out. Not the American publications, because they're all bought by freaking lobby groups that are supportive of this. But the Israeli publications are even calling this out. They're the ones that are saying this is genocide. They know how Hamas is established by Netanyahu. They know how this is all employed. They know how manufactured this is. You're not going to hear from Bill Maher. You're not going to hear from MSNBC. You're not going to hear from CNN. And you're not going to hear from the establishment in America. but you're going to hear from the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is actually waking up. The rest of the world is actually taking a moment to look into warfare and why this is happening. Why specifically Israel and Palestine are in this conflict, and why they're still in this conflict, and why this conflict will never be resolved no matter how much we support both sides. Because it's all manufactured. It's all purposely done so that the military establishment, the global empire, can play us like pawns until the last man survives, and then we dominate over that nation and take their resources. That's all they want. It is absolutely, it's heartbreaking what's happening over there, and it just shows that whether it's Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or anybody else in the political establishment, they could not care. Could not care whatsoever.